Hello and welcome to this overview session. This session is going to give you an overview of the Level 6 Diploma in Teaching and Learning, and it will involve looking at all of the 6 units that you will be studying as a part of this level and what each unit is going to focus on. So let's focus on the objective of this level, and let's transition to looking at the individual units, and then we're going to focus on every unit in much more detail so that you will get to know what exactly you are going to learn as a part of completing this level. The primary objective of level 6 in teaching and learning is to develop your understanding of both the theory and practice that is involved in modern day education. You are going to, upon completing this level, you are going to be provided with the knowledge, skills, and tools that will allow you to develop as an effective learning and development or education practitioner. We're going to be looking at some of the industry trends. Also, we're going to be looking at some of the challenges that modern day professionals are facing, so that when you progress, or if you decide to progress within the field of education or learning and development, you will be able to tackle some of those challenges and you will feel well prepared practically and also theoretically. Let's look at the 6 units now. The 6 mandatory units that we are going to be covering together are curriculum design, lesson planning, management of class dynamics, reflective teaching, integrated education, and technology in education. So throughout the duration of this overview session, we're going to look at each of the units individually and what you are going to learn during every session, which is part of the unit. Okay, let's start with curriculum design, which is the first unit. The purpose of curriculum design is to help you learn how to plan and design learning curriculum. It will also allow you to explore different approaches to curriculum design, models of curriculum design and development, and also different methods of evaluation. The unit will consist of 2 sessions. The first one focuses on how to design and develop curriculum, and the second one focuses on how to evaluate and review it. Let's look at some of the things that we're going to be covering during the first session. So the very first session is going to start with understanding what curriculum design is, and then what the purpose of curriculum design is. The primary purpose, as you could see from the slides, and we're going to dig much deeper at the actual session, but the primary purpose is to align the learning strategies, resources, and activities with the actual learning objectives of a training and learning or training and development program. So when we identify what the objective or the objectives of a particular learning and development programs are, we are then going to design the strategies, the content, the resources, the materials, the experiences, all that is involved in delivering the actual learning and development program. Okay, so we're going to dig much deeper, as I previously said, at the actual session, but it is important to understand what curriculum design is and then how important it is in order for you to structure, design, and then deliver an effective learning and development program or a course. We're going to look at some of the most widely known approaches of curriculum design, and we're also going to look at some of the models of curriculum design that you can practically use. So subject-centered approaches are very much focused on the actual subject that the learners are going to be covering. That could be, for instance, to give you an example, that could be maths. So maths being the subject, then the training curriculum or the learning curriculum curriculum is designed around the actual subject, where when we're talking about a learner-centered approach, that involves the curriculum being designed around what the learners are looking to get out of a certain training and development program. So this is a very learner-driven approach. And when it comes to problem-centered approaches, they are part of the learner-centered approach to an extent, because they actually focus on tackling a particular problem, and then the learners themselves are the ones that decide how this problem is going to be resolved in a learning and development context, for instance. And then we're going to also talk about the backward design approach. Actually, that is a model in a way, because it involves different steps that allow you to design curricula, which the first step starts with identifying learning objectives and then designing it backward, hence the name. So this is what we're going to be looking at achieving by the end of this training and development program, for instance. Now let's come back to the beginning and let's map out our curriculum so that we can ensure that the training and development objectives, the objectives of the program, are fully met. Okay. So we're going to dig deeper at the actual session. We're also going to be looking at how we can manage risks, how you could raise awareness around the various risks involved when we are delivering training and education programs, also when we're designing them as well. We're going to look at some health and safety regulations when we are delivering learning and education activities in a physical environment, but we're also going to focus on creating an environment that is inclusive and one that facilitates the learning of all the participants involved. We actually are going to cover this further down this session. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later as well. Okay, there is a useful resource as well. So every session you walk away with some additional resources that you can use, which will help prepare the assignments, but at the same time they are quite practical and they will come handy if you are to take a job in those fields as well. Now, talking about setting learning objectives, we are going to learn first of all what the learning objective is and how to set one. We are going to be using the SMART acronym. Some of you may already be familiar with the SMART acronym, but when we use SMART, that allows us to design learning objectives that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. It is a very useful approach when setting objectives, both in a learning context, but also when we're setting individual goals as well. The second session is going to be focused on evaluating and reviewing curriculum. We're going to look at what curriculum monitoring is, and we're also going to look at what curriculum evaluation is. And then we are going to look at approaches that involve curriculum monitoring and evaluation. A very popular approach, which you might have heard of, is the Donald Kirkpatrick's 4-level evaluation model. That is quite well known and used within the learning and development and education industry. Also, we are going to look at Houghton's HRD evaluation, research and measurement model as well. And these are approaches that we can take when we are evaluating the effectiveness of curriculum. Again, I thought it would be useful to give you a quick overview of Donald Kirkpatrick model, and these are the levels that the model involves. We've got level 1, which very much focuses on the degree to which participants react favorably to the learning event, so what feedback they're giving us. Level 2 involves measuring how they have acquired or whether they have acquired the intended knowledge and skills based on their participation in the training and development program. So in a nutshell, what they have learned. Level 3 measures behaviors. So here we're focusing on the degree to which participants actually apply what they have learned during the training when they're back on the job. And then the final level is results. So to what degree the targeted outcomes, the outcomes that we have set, actually occur as a result of taking part in the learning and development program. So this is a very useful and very practical model of evaluation of curriculum that you can implement right away. So we're going to look at it into more detail at the actual session. We're also going to look at the steps that we can take when we are planning assessments. So these are quite important steps because it is important that every assessment that we decide to implement as a part of designing the curriculum actually allows us to validate whether the learning outcomes that we have set have been achieved. So we're going to look at the types of assessment. We're going to look at summative and formative assessment as well. These are types of assessments that we can use, and we're also going to look at the steps that we can take, the practical steps that we can take in order to plan effective assessment approaches. Okay. Now, a very important question which as a potential or current learning and development or education practitioner you will be asking yourself is, have the learning outcomes been achieved? And as I previously mentioned, the two types of assessments that you will be looking at utilizing are summative and formative assessment. When we are designing and developing curriculum, we should always keep the learning outcomes or objectives in mind in order to ensure that our learners are walking away following attending the learning event with all the necessary knowledge that they intended to acquire as a result of taking part in the learning event or the training and development program. Now,